An exciting opportunity, hopefully, to see the Prince and Princess of Wales later in the year.
And Prince Harry cuts off donations to Sentebale. Hi, all. Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives into the fascinating world of two of the most recognized royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
And I'm Rupert Bell, fresh from a fantastic trip to the Edinburgh Festival, Fringe and all sorts of things. But I've got all the latest news on what's going on in the world of the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Rupert, I talked to Dickie and we were just discussing how things could potentially be slow over the next few weeks with members of the royal family in and out of Balmoral. And he said they call August silly season in the press because you get some of the craziest and most irrelevant headlines about the British royal family. We're going to talk about one of those today. I mean, the idea that the Prince of Wales and King Charles would scoff at $10 million to update their solar system or their energy system is, I don't think I think that's a nothing burger. But you also mentioned that there was kind of a critical piece about Prince William that you stumbled upon.
We know that the Prince of Wales has got a great deal of interest in a couple of projects, one Earthshot, but obviously in the UK, he's got a passion to try and alleviate and help the homelessness issue. But this homelessness story, just getting a drift of it, saying that in areas where William is working on, he's struggling to make an impact to alleviate the homelessness crisis. Well, there's a lot of going on here on a social level, which I don't think, and this is actually reflects the difficult nature of what the Prince of Wales is embarking on to try and alleviate the homeless crisis, because it is a genuine problem in this country. And whether it be through increased immigration, all sorts of things, which I have no real clue exactly what might be leading to it. But it is a worry. And for the Prince of Wales, I'm sure from his perspective, it is something that will continue to exercise his mind as to how he can help. But it is a very political issue as well. Obviously, the immigration and everything that's going on in this country, just as it is to some extent in the United States. So we're no different here. So is it leading to an increase in homelessness in certain areas? I have no idea. But it just highlights the difficulty for the Prince of Wales. And of course, in a way, attaching that to him, maybe trying to say, well, you're actually making no difference at all. You're living in your ivory tower. What are you actually doing? I actually think that's unfair, because I genuinely do think the Prince of Wales cares about this and will, I'm sure, with his team, be looking at ways to, even if it's some impact and alleviating in some cases, I'm sure he'll be doing his best to do exactly that.
Because the migration issue, the immigration issue is so difficult over there that the government's asking hotels to host these individuals. Is that correct?
Well, it's an ever movable feast, whether it's military camps, moving to different areas in the country. It is, I can assure you, a political hot potato.
And that's why Prince William wouldn't use that to defend himself, don't you think? Because he knows if he were to say, well, the immigration issue's out of hand, then everybody would go, too political.
He can't say anything. And actually, his mantra is, and as we know, when we talk about Prince Harry, while we never have ever seen him come back, i.e. William, with some retort and trying to counteract what outrageous claim Harry may be coming up next about him or his wife or any other member of the royal family. So I think for William, it just reflects the very difficult line that members of the royal family had to tread as to where they go beyond what might be considered acceptable. When the king came to the throne, there were concerns, but he seems to have navigated his way through those muddy waters. And this will all be part of William's learning curve for when it comes his time for the top job. That understanding that line of where the political you go too far. And that is all part of what this is. It is a political subject, homelessness, but William has managed just to say, look, I'm trying to help, but I'm not having an opinion as to what's causing it.
Yeah, I just think that to your point, that's incredibly unfair. They are in a really difficult position there because you can't talk about some of the current things happening politically in the United Kingdom. All you can do is your best to move forward and place some of the homeless individuals in whatever new spaces he's developed in, recently. And they also talk about how this is just supposed to be like step one of several steps that he's
Hmm.
developed to try to prevent homelessness in the future for some of these people. So why not applaud this guy for committing to something which he has committed to for several years and continuing to push forward versus, going, well, we've got this migrant crisis. I'm never going to make an impact. I'm going to call it a day.
We do need people who are prepared to help, and Prince William has the means and the vehicle to try and help. And I'm sure he will be looking at what can be done, how to sort it out. But it is just a reflection of the typical times. And the other story you're alluding to, which is about, are they going to convert all their rental properties to the new guidelines that have been imposed on landlords, which, from a I know is bureaucratically an expensive nightmare. But obviously, for the royal family, the Duchy of Cornwall, clearly they may have to fall into line because they can't be seen to be not doing what the latest law is. So it's all to do with having your house environmentally efficient and other areas. And it is a bureaucratic nightmare. And for landlords, what it actually is doing is imposing costs. So it's almost detrimental because what happens is then the landlord's got to pass the cost on somewhere, however, whether you agree or disagree with what they're doing. So rents go up. So can be a self-defeating sort of operation. But that's another story. We're not here to talk politics. We're here to say that it may cost the royal family a few quid to
Yeah.
do it, but people will probably say, well, they can afford to do it. Well, no, they run the Duchy of Cornwall as a business, and that business funds him, but it also has a legitimate business operation. So they can't. They're not a charity,
Yeah.
and that's an important aspect to remember.
Yeah, that article coming from The Guardian, King Charles and Prince William face $10 million energy upgrade bill for estates. And their investigation, silly season, in my opinion, said it could affect 9 out of 10 rental properties in the Duchy of Cornwall and Lancaster. And at Sandringham. They did say the government has announced that landlords will need to ensure their properties have energy performance certificates ratings of C or higher by 2030. So there's plenty of time for the Prince of Wales and King Charles to try to get this upgraded to try to get their energy in alignment with the new guidelines. The issue that Guardian brought up is that King Charles and Prince William have been praised in the past for their environmental advocacy. They are likely to be criticized if the estates fail to meet the new government standards as fears about soaring energy costs and the climate crisis intensify. But the reality is, these two individuals, King Charles and Prince William, are pretty by the book. They're not rule breakers. They usually don't scoff at the idea of change. They have been really great about molding and changing whatever the case may be, whether it's a new reign or whether it's a new looking senior royal family. They bounce back pretty quickly. So I think that this is kind of a nothing burger. I imagine we will see the Prince of Wales and King Charles make these changes immediately or as quickly as possible for them. And there's not going to be any pushback from the palace regarding these changes being made.
Well, yeah, and let's be honest, they won't be doing it. It'll be the management team of their respectives. They'll be doing it, and they'll be doing it like any other landlord. And where I find you mentioned that 9 out of 10, well, it's not just the Royal Duchy of Lancaster. It's nationwide. So most properties are having to do this. So to single out the royal family is unfair, I think, because it's actually everyone's got to do it. So all landlords have got to do it. Now, the Prince of Wales and the King won't be getting down and dirty and saying to X, well, you need to do this. It'll be wherever these properties are, it'll be the estate manager of Sandringham if they've got properties there and rented out. I don't know whether that means Prince Andrew's well, no, as place will be
Upgraded.
having to be upgraded, but it won't be the King and Andrew go and Prince of Wales going out there with their slide rule and whatever and doing the
Their hard
work.
hats. You're
It,
not seeing them in their
yeah,
hard hats.
no, it'll be estate staff, management staff responsible. So again, I put it in the possible nothing burger. Of course, they will have to pass it on, but it actually is again a lot of people say that it is a negative thing, but as you pointed out, it is 2030, so it can be phased in, but it's not far, 4 years away. It still will have an impact, and those costs will have to be passed on, and unfortunately, tends to be the tenant who may have to will pay in the long run.
Mm, that is unfortunate. Let's talk about a happier potential story. I mean, I haven't seen any confirmation yet about this, but obviously we love the idea of the visuals. Prince William and the Princess of Wales set to take their first joint trip together since her cancer diagnosis to India. This could happen in November. Per a new report from the Mirror, this would be. I remember. I think we actually covered it together when they were in
Yeah.
Jordan in 2023. But the outlet claims that Catherine will be accompanying Prince William to the 2026 Earthshot Prize Awards and Summit, and that we haven't seen her at Earthshot, I believe, since Boston. I was in Boston, and that was a lot of fun. So this would be great to see them together. However, it hasn't been confirmed by the palace, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her with them because it does seem like they're doing more together, and it does seem like we're seeing much more of Catherine, and she is box office.
And I think it's important if she goes, the India's role again, we go to the geopolitical situation. This would be a major coup for India. The first big sort of state visit. Of course, they are a member of the Commonwealth, but obviously India's sort of position in the wider political world is important. So if we do get the Prince and Princess of Wales not only going around the Earthshot, but what it means as a whole and England, Britain's relationship with India, I think it would be a major coup. And I think why it's probably not being announced, because aren't the palace at pains to say that even during, while she may be getting better, and we have been seeing a reasonable amount of her, that everything is still, well, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I mean, I suppose they would be announcing it in more formal terms. I think we'd probably see some sort of announcement, if it is going to be the case, maybe in September.
Or
But it will
October. They
be,
usually announce it
yeah,
like right before. And
yeah.
then I feel like they're more likely to say off the record when something's
Mhm.
not going to happen. Because I remember Matt Wilkinson saying to me, because I was like, isn't it exciting? Prince William's going to come to the States for the cup. And he was like, no, he's not. No, he's
Yeah.
not.
Well,
And so it seems like the palace is more likely to say no, that's not happening. And then when it comes to actually confirming something, it's right before the event. And some of that I imagine has to do with safety strategy.
well, I'm sure there's security implications. I think Prince William would have gone if we'd got to the final. There's
Yeah.
absolutely, he would have gone as president in an official capacity as president of the FA, and obviously had a word in Mr. Infantino's shell like while he was there. So I think from that point of view, I think it would be good if they can, they will. If it's going to happen, we will know in the fullness of time. But should it happen, it will be a very good look for Britain and for the Indians to have the Princess of Wales there. It will be, and obviously it will be a feeding frenzy for her because the Indian press they won't be able to get enough of it. So it will be intense. And that again is something that would have to be managed because, as I say, it will be um, a pretty intense visit if that is going to happen.
I think when we think about post-cancer, Catherine, Three Peaks Challenge stands out to me. Italy stands out to me. Would this be one of those moments where we talk about seeing that resilience and seeing that star power if she does attend?
Well, we know she's got star power. I think if she does attend, it depends how long the trip is. It may be 4 or 5 days. If she goes, it will be intense, but it will be a brilliant shot window for the royal family because in their role as head of the Commonwealth, in terms of the king, it's a significant trip. And obviously, if he's promoting Earthshot, that fits into that. And obviously, India and environmental issues is sometimes, you know, India is often seen as someone that's not a country that's not quite adapted to the modern world in terms of that. But things are changing, and so it will be. Hopefully, we get in fullness of time, and you better get on the plane to Delhi to enjoy India in its all its loveliness, and I'm sure it will be a great success.
Absolutely. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that that is actually the case. But just to reiterate, the palace has yet to confirm Catherine's attendance there, but we would be thrilled to see her. And if not, I'm sure Prince William's bromance with what the Robert Irwin will continue to blossom. I'm sure we'd see Robert
Um,
Irwin on his arms if the Princess of Wales isn't able to attend. So
well, I'll tell you, if they do have a big Earthshot fly there, I mean, all you have to do is get a Bollywood star turning up, and then
mm,
that's it. Your
mhm.
job done.
Well, he does
Because
not have a hard time getting huge names to show up
well,
for this event.
I'll tell you, I mean, you get cricketers, you get some Bollywood stars. I mean, you think it can be mad in your neck of the woods, nothing compared to what a top Bollywood actor or actress has to go through. They are it's madness.
Hmm.
So all he has to do is get the leading Bollywood actress or Bollywood actor to turn up, and job's done.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
as simple as that, probably.
yeah,
One
absolutely. Although
photograph with who.
we would prefer Catherine.
Well, no, but both of them. Well, yeah. Well, no. What I'm saying is, if they're both there,
Yeah,
then you get the celebrity quotient. I think if she's there, then they'll be falling over. There will be a pile of Bollywood actors and actresses scrambling to be photographed. Because it will be big deal,
yeah,
and it will be huge,
absolutely.
and it will generate interest all over the world. So it will be a high pressure visit if it's all confirmed, and let's hope it does all go as planned.
I did see in the comments some criticism for me when I think I facetiously said that the United Kingdom misses Prince Harry. I mean, I think Prince Harry's place is probably Portugal. Hey everyone, Kinsey Schofield here, and I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It's a total game changer, Peak's Liver Detox Protocol. You may not know it, but your liver handles a lot: energy, hormones, digestion, and even your mood. But with all the stress and toxins from everyday life, it needs some love. Forget harsh cleanses. Peak delivers gentle daily support inspired by traditional Chinese medicine. Their routine uses two simple blends. The first is a warming turmeric mix with cinnamon and black pepper, designed to help the body absorb it better and support the liver while calming inflammation. The second is a ginger and cinnamon blend that helps with blood flow, digestion, bloating, and immune support. The magic is how they work together to activate and flush for better digestion, stable energy, less brain fog, and that light, clear feeling. My energy is consistent, my skin is clear, and less bloating. That's Peak, where spirit meets science. Redefine your standard of health, secure 20% off your order, and begin your intentional wellness journey today at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Thanks so much.
Before I start having to go into rant mode,
Uh-huh.
I just want to give the viewers a little change of pace.
Okay.
Would you indulge me for a second?
Oh yeah, they
Okay.
complain that I talk too much anyway, so take the
Oh,
floor.
well, anyway, well, they complain. I waffle too. So between us, we're a couple of wafflers. I've just been to the Edinburgh Festival, and I've seen a whole wide. I saw the tattoo, which was amazing, and it's a real tourist hotspot. Anyway, I am going to give a plug for a play that I saw in its third year at the festival. It's a one-man theatrical tour de force, written by a young playwright called Tom Foreman. And it is the most fantastic hour. I don't often cry in theatre, but I could feel the old blood because as this guy told the story, and I got a copy of the play here, and it's a Boiler Room 6, a Titanic story. That is what I saw. And I saw a lot of shows in the last week, but this was a theatrical tour de force, a one-man show. And the actor playing it was a young guy called Charlie Sheepshanks. And and I'm off to go and see Kenneth Branagh now after I've recorded this in the Cherry Orchard with Helen Hunt at the RSC. Hence, sorry I had to get you up early to record this a
I am
little
up
earlier.
early.
So
You
I'm
can still
sorry
see
about
my
that.
face mask indented in my
Yeah,
face.
okay. Well, I do apologise, but I am looking forward to seeing that. But I have to say, if anyone is anywhere around and we get to see Boiler Room 6, it's basically a tale of what it was like as someone who worked in the boiler room of the Titanic and survived. And he talks about how he survived, on there and the sort of passage to being surviving. The playwright, I think his great grandfather, may have, great grandmother, was the daughter of the man in the boiler room who survived and it just the most gripping. But I saw comedy, I saw music, I saw the tattoo, but my top of the pops was a Boiler Room 6, a Titanic story by a playwright, Tom Foreman. Plug over, but it was my Edinburgh highlight.
Oh, anything else?
Well, I saw comedy, Giles Brandreth. I mean, you went, these are very British, the good comedian Josh Byrne,
I've
some
interviewed
lovely.
Giles before. I love Giles, and he's like
Oh,
incredibly
right.
close to Queen Camilla.
Oh, yeah, no, he's 78. Yeah, he's very close to the royal family. He's very close, knows the king well.
Hmm. Wrote a
So,
beautiful book about Prince Philip that I
yeah,
think was
yeah,
basically endorsed by the family, and
yeah.
he's the one that actually revealed that the Queen died of bone cancer.
Yeah. So we saw him in a one-man show, which was a sellout, talking about childhood and
Mm.
your childhood memories and how you should treasure childhood memories. And his childhood memories were centered around Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, that's so cute. Did he wear
As
his
his
Winnie the Pooh
first.
sweater?
Well, no, he wore it. Of course, he's known for his silly sweaters,
Yeah, because
and it was
he
actually.
remember he designed the Princess Diane when I'm a luxury if you can afford.
Yeah, did he? Yeah,
Yeah, so
right.
that
Yeah.
that Princess Diana sweater that says "I'm a luxury if you can afford," that was his brand.
See, we got it back to royal somehow, haven't we?
Yeah.
But I'm just mentioning Giles Brandreth, which for me, no, and it was good. He did it with his podcast producer, and it was very interesting, and just the sort of telling tales and what childhood means. Your first childhood memories, treasure them and treasure positive things. And no, not everybody has a happy childhood, but you said the sort of overriding theme of it was try and find something that is positive, whether it's a teacher, whether it's something from your childhood memories. I don't. Anyway, I'm not here to discuss my childhood memories.
Well, we could tell Meghan Markle that that sounds like some good advice for her.
Well, and remember and make sure your childhood memories have a consistent truth root in
Yeah.
them. Because I mean, one minute she's a child who's cooking everything and living off home food, and next minute she's basically having takeaway dinners. I mean, make up your mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I can feel, okay, the boiler room story. I can feel the heat starting to come to me now as we into Meghan and Harry zone, as we enter the second half of this edition of Heirs and Spares.
Yeah, honestly, I probably should have referenced Terry there too, because I had to do a lot of commentary last week on Prince Edward's ex-girlfriend's book, where she talked about what a great father Prince Charles was, Prince Charles at the time, now King Charles was, to a young William and Harry while she was around. And then other stories starting to circulate, like we talked about Penny Jr. and some of those other ones. So Harry obviously having an issue reconciling with his past as well. But despite that, rumors, well, not rumors, Harry's team telling the Telegraph, I believe, that Harry wants to visit Britain every few months over the next year. His visit last month, according to this story, left him very happy and really energized. He's returning in September for a week to do some Invictus Games promotion and for the Well Child Awards. A source close to Harry told the Sunday Times, I apologize, it was the Sunday Times, the template for his visit has been working really well. So the frequency of trips will increase, especially in the run up to Invictus, which he's determined to make the best games yet. So he'll be coming back and forth a lot more every few months. The way the wind is blowing, he's going to want to be here more and more. He's happy these trips can now have more focus on the patronages and be less obscured by other nonsense. He wants a foothold here, more trips back, less courtroom drama, and he always loves seeing his family. I would argue that in the past, we haven't seen him do a year's worth of promotion for Invictus. He does one event a year before the event, and then might do some media like the Today Show, where he tells Hoda Kotb that he's worried about the people surrounding his grandmother. But he doesn't typically go to the country that Invictus is going to be held at. This is just such in my eyes, just such a pack of lies because Harry needs that proximity to the British royal family again. So they're going to cover it up with Invictus promotion. And what template is working? Because his last trip was a hot mess express.
It was. I mean, obviously we had the court case findings, and Meghan then secreted into the power of darkness, which by all accounts she wasn't happy with. Well, unfortunately, you could have put your head above the parapet and gone there, but you suddenly know that Harry was having a series of negative headlines. Look, he always comes over in September for the World Child. So I get that.
Yeah.
That is something that, and so for him then to tag on a few Invictus things, but to make it seem like this is now the new Harry with rapprochement around the corner with the king and everything. No, he's just got to back off because he's getting it. That's wrong. Yes, he's important to Well Child and they value his patronage there. So I'm not dissing that. And that is one that he actually has gone down well with all and sundry. And that's probably the one with the least noise around it and actually he has a positive impact. But the Invictus, we know that's been sort of shrouded in some elements of controversy about particularly the involvement of his wife and the impact that that has, and that it is a negative impact. Now, if he's coming on his own, I don't know what events he's going to be doing with relation to Invictus, but obviously maybe some actually attending meetings and some work to find out what's going on. But it does show that he's got trying to fill his diary. And I think, as you quite rightly say, to couch it Invictus and Well Child, it makes it look more important than it probably is. Although I'm not dissing the work he's doing with Well Child. I think he's trying to make himself look important and say, well, I can have that. I'm doing the half in, half out. And where's the security issues again?
Oh,
If he's not happy.
in the same article, they say that he's also hoping to return to the Ukraine in the next few months, speaking of security issues. So, like, the audacity to be railing against the security and keep entering voluntarily a war zone doesn't really.
Yeah, and actually, I would be saying if I was the Ukrainian, I don't need the hassle.
I think that they like any attention that they get. So.
Well, and they are, some of the stuff they're doing. I mean, they are, do what they've done has, okay, we're a royal podcast. They have changed the face, and what's gone on there has changed the face of modern face of warfare. I mean, that's a different ballgame. I mean, I was an infantry soldier. I mean, heaven forfend now, it's a different landscape. But for him to go, and I appreciate they want government figures going there. But it's, that requires a security operation, a really intense security operation. So Whereas more worries going there, he's got less than being in this country where it's probably pretty secure for him. He's not going unattended, with no security. So if he comes here, I hope it's a low-key visit. He achieves what he does with Well Child. If there's something in Invictus, but that we then not, don't then will he go and meet the king? We'll have all that for the week
Yeah.
because the king's likely to be up in Balmoral.
Yeah, we expect him to be in Scotland. But I did want to
Yeah.
stress, because I know our audience will be curious, that sources claim that no decision has been made on whether Harry will stay at Buckingham Palace during this visit, which was chaotic during the last. The optics there were horrible. Harry claiming to the press that the offer had been taken back, when
Oh,
the reality was Harry said, I don't want to stay there, then came back shortly after that and said, I changed my mind. And they said, not only did you miss the deadline, but you've already told us no, we don't have the resources to put you up anymore. We're sorry. We've moved on. And that it's understood that that was King Charles's decision, that he felt like Harry was disrespecting his staff with the back and forth, let alone the embarrassing leaks to the media about that. So we don't know whether Harry will stay at Buckingham Palace or not. Also, like, I don't think that his family was invited to Balmoral or Sandringham. I don't, I've seen both of those reported, that the king has invited the family to come stay with them. And I don't believe that to be true. Do you have an opinion on that?
well, and also when he's coming over, when would someone like Archie and Lilibet be going back to school in the States? It's
They're
after the
going back
Labor
to
Day.
school soon. I mean, I
Yes,
have family that are already back to school.
yeah. I mean, depends probably where you are, but it's
Mhm.
from now on, sort of beginning of September. So you would assume that those children have to be back in school. Look, where they are now. If they're not there, that's fine. But I assume they're back at their nursery school or whatever it is they have in Montecito. So it will be. I think it would be a surprise for them to come over. I think it would be. I think the best thing that can happen is that Meghan doesn't come over because that will keep the noise to a minimum. Absolutely, because we know she is desperate, as we always know, to enhance her royal credentials. And look at me, I'm back again. Hence the reason the fallout from the Martha Stewart chat. That did she or did she not wax lyrical about her time with the king for that wonderful 57-minute let's slurp a cup of tea down as quickly as possible and get you out of here session. I don't know, but I hope that if he is serious, it's low key. He could stay at, presumably, with all the royal family everywhere else. If he's going to be in London, he could stay at Kensington Palace. There must be an apartment there somewhere where they could hold him up, a suite somewhere, maybe even in Clarence House or somewhere else. Buckingham Palace is getting renovated. It may be still open to the public in early areas, so that may be an issue. I personally think just keep it, Harry. Go and stay in the Kensington Palace and be done with it, and get on with what you've got to do. But keep it low key if you're serious about trying to um, build bridges. Let's just come do your job and get out of here.
Quite often, more times than not, does the actual opposite of what
Yeah.
common sense says he should do. I mean, we're talking about security. While our audience would not like the optics of Harry staying in a palace, if his real concern is security, that's where he would be. But we don't think his real concern is security. We think his real concern is ego and
Oh.
maintaining, a certain look. And that's why he goes to places like Ukraine, not because he's needed, or, not because he's an expert in the situation, because he's not. It's because he likes to look like a government official, to your point, and he's, quite frankly, he's not one.
No, he's not. He's a private citizen, and that's why I say Ukraine should not be offering him a state visit. Now, if he was a member of the royal family, members of the royal family have gone. Didn't the Duchess of Edinburgh go? if I'm not
He
mistaken,
did,
or some
yes.
member. Yeah, so that again. So yet she is a fully paid up working member of the royal family, and was if she did go, or other members of the royal family may have been there, but it's doing the work. Now he may say, and this is Harry saying, "Well, I'm reaching out to the injured service personnel from Ukraine." To come to Invictus, so he could go. Well, I'm going on with my Invictus hat on. Well, it's stretching it. And I think, Ukraine have got more things to worry about than the security of one man coming in for a potential look at me, how wonderful I am. I'm still valued by the international community. You know why he wants to do that, to make himself look good and say, I'm still strutting my stuff on the world stage.
Speaking of making himself look good, I know that this is again kind of a nothing burger story. The silly August headlines, silly season. Prince Harry stops giving money from Diana's memorial fund to Sentebale. However, I think it would have made him look good to still give money to Sentebale. If ultimately Sentebale is, if the objective is to protect children and to take care of children in Africa, I get why they're suing him. I get why he quit that job. I get why he's sending that money elsewhere to an elephant charity. However, I think it would have made him look like the bigger person had we not had this headline.
It may have done, and I think the sum's only about 5,000 quid anyway.
Yeah.
So we're not talking vast sums of money, uh, but it just shows the fallout. And
Mhm.
it's going to another charity. Fine, he's fully entitled as a trustee. William will be doing presumably the same amount. Will go somewhere, but we won't hear any song and dance about that. But for Harry, of course, he's embroiled in all these charity fallouts. Whether it be Sentebale, there are other rumours about other charities that these African parks, it's not a good look at times.
No.
There are others that he has left a bit of a storm as he goes through, and because he doesn't know how to deal with people and thinks he's still the big number one. Well, he's
Mhm.
not. And so he's fully entitled to give the money where he wants, but it does show that reading between the lines, the Sentebale fallout, it shows that he's not able to rise above it and can't see that if it was something that's important, here is £5,000. And let's be honest, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. They need many more thousands than 5,000 to run that charity. And they've talked about how it's had the impact on them. And, they're not able, because of Harry, he was not doing his job. And they were making it very hard for them to raise money. So,
Yeah, they struggle to fundraise
yeah.
because of Harry, and then there's Harry ripping his donation from their hands. So I don't, I understand. Like, I understand they're suing him.
Mm,
He's at war with them. He's
mm,
actually accused them of using these funds in their litigation against him, and they came back and said, absolutely not. We have people that are helping us fund this litigation. And I had one guest on here suggest that maybe it was a media entity that Harry's gone after that would help fund something like that, which I thought would be brilliant. I don't know if it's true or not, but I just thought, you would have looked like the bigger person had you continued with that donation, because ultimately we are to assume, based on you creating this charity, that these funds are going to children that are helpless and are desperate for, people like you to step in and help them in some way, shape, or form. And now he's donating. And I love elephants. I'm a huge
mm.
animal girl. But now the headlines are that Archie and Lily got elephants named after them, thanks to Harry's donation to this charity. And it's just, again, with the me
Ugh.
that plague the Sussexes.
Well, I didn't know that last bit. That makes me want to gag.
I know.
Oh God! Well, then if it's all, we'll name two elephants. Oh no, it's all you're right. It's the me. So, they and then okay, wrong reason. We all know elephants are a magnificent creature,
They
and we
love
need to
them.
protect them, and they need to be protected. They are just when you see them up close and personal in Africa, as I luckily enough have, it is just the most. You go in, you're in awe of the majesty of this creature, and they need treating with respect. But they're not. They're one of millions of different species who deserve respect. But at the same time, we know that they're trying to create a positive headline. But if it's only £5,000, we're not talking a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah. Well, I still don't think it's a great look, and he needs to be
Mm,
worried about optics right now because it does feel like they're spiraling a little
mm.
bit. And there's, I mean, with
Yeah.
the headlines, I couldn't believe how savage the headlines were here in the States over the Cookie Queens movie crapping
Oh,
out. Like I was like, guys, I mean, I didn't have high hopes for it. I mean, did other people? I couldn't believe that everybody's like the end is near over because of the Queens movie, and I'm like, let's be real. These two threw some money at this to slap their name at the end, and their participation was really very limited. I mean, I think that this was kind of a Hail Mary for them, but I never thought it was going to save the day in any way, shape, or form for Brand Sussex.
well, and more importantly, it feels like I haven't seen it. It seems like it's only had a release in the States. Feels like a TV documentary. That's all it is.
Well,
And it's
some of the reviews said it was too reality TV showy for the reviewer.
all right. Well, I mean, whatever. When it was being released at the Sundance Festival, when she turned up, I wasn't exactly thinking this was going to change the face of 2026 movie going.
Exactly.
Leave that to Matt Damon and an Odyssey.
Yeah, let's leave that to
That
Christopher Nolan, guys.
yeah. Well, Christopher Nolan. Oh, he's released another blockbuster. Well, fair play, Christopher Nolan. British, of course. So let's just not forget
And a
Christopher
hunk.
Nolan.
What a stud that guy is.
Uh, I can't. I'm just now trying to picture him. Yeah, well, he's cerebral. He's brilliant, and anything he turns to seems to produce is always a rip-roaring success. Anyway, we digress. But Cookie Queen was never, in my opinion, and it's been released in the summer. And unless you get some decent word of mouth, you're going to see the takings plummet. Because just as I was talking about Edinburgh shows depend on word of mouth there. You know,
Mm.
creating a frisson. And this show that I was alluding to 2 years ago, no one knew about, but created a buzz. And then people went to see it, and then it grew and grew and grew. That is what, if Cookie Queen would have been good, you would have seen, oh God, you must go and see this. Nah, nah. My gut feeling is that this may be it's just a turkey which hasn't been well cooked by the Sussexes.
I think that there were two observations that Megan likely made that thought would benefit her. The word queen, because she wants to be
Yeah,
associated with royalty. So she was like, cookie
yeah.
queens, how cute. I'm a cookie queen. I sell cookies on as ever. So I think that the word queen and the royal, the flirting with the royal ish. And then I also think it gave her an opportunity to talk about herself, which she always does. Can I tell you one observation I've made, though, that I think is crucial? We criticized Harry and Meghan for not promoting their Netflix series. We got one interview on the Drew Barrymore show for With Love, Meghan. I think some print, but that was more so, I think, for As Ever. Maybe you could include Bloomberg's sit down with Meghan in promotion for As Ever / With Love, Meghan, but I feel like As Ever was the real agenda there. But we didn't see them promote Heart of Invictus. We didn't see them promote Live to Lead. We didn't see them promote the Polo show, Polo. There were
Mm.
several others, I think, that they just didn't do anything for. And we criticized them because they showed up at the Bob Marley premiere to help promote the Paramount product that they had nothing to do with. But they seemed to be like selfishly quiet when it came to promoting their other projects for Netflix. And we thought, if I'm Netflix, I'm thinking you're not really collaborating well enough with us. You're not a team player. Well, here she is stepping up to promote Cookie Queens multiple times. She did multiple events and it still bombed. So now I have to go back and say, I guess that any sort of promotion for those other entities wouldn't have helped. And I was in the wrong for criticizing her in the first place.
My take is they're too worried about doing the sell of their particular products because everyone, there's probably so many riders as to what you can ask. You probably can't ask the questions that we need to and grill them properly. And people say, it's too complicated.
Mm.
So, when you look at Cookie Queen, she's basically doing a photo op and all these other things. It's a photo op. She's not saying anything.
Yeah.
She's just giggling inanely.
Unless she's telling us about how great Lily is. Poor Archie. Poor Archie.
Well, I know. Well, there's a lot going on there that is uncomfortable, but it's the fact of the matter is she's just a photo op, and that's just ridiculous. He will turn up and go grin, 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 or David Foster's thing. I'm sorry. I've read some of the comments. My ignorance about Mr. Foster came to the fore last week about how good he is at his job and the money he has raised. But again, that was just a photo op. And they're not saying anything. They just think it might sell a few things and help the charity. But then when it comes to them selling their own stuff, you've actually got to get out there and do it and be hard work. And actually, I digress. I didn't see these up at Edinburgh, but I want to use this story. There was a guy talking and he set up Mob Kitchen, which was a thing that for students to cook. And now he's on his own. And he was doing a lecture at the book festival. And he talked about to get to where he is now, running a successful podcast and publishing books, graft, and yet more graft. And that's how I've now got to a stage where I can, my books sell and my podcast is listened to and my recipes are appreciated. My immediate reaction was when I spoke to my wife and my sister-in-law, was there, they both went to me and said, I then went, I think I can probably use this because it's the polar opposite as to what Meghan is about, which is I'm the Duchess of Sussex and of course it will sell and I don't need to do anything. I don't need to put in the hard yards. And that's the problem for her. She has got to be seen, just like Martha Stewart did, grafting away, toiling away, unsocial hours, getting down and dirty, doing the hard work and getting the break. And that's what most people in show business or anywhere, you need a break. And for Meghan, she just thinks it will come to her and you get found out pretty quickly if that is your approach to life.
Well, that sounds like a great place to end.
And for the first time, whoa, hello.
Say hi to Percy, everyone.
Have we seen Percy? Here is Percy, who sat through that hour, but he's now bored and he now wants to go outside and do. But this is my friend Percy. Off you go, Percy.
Percy is our #1 bird killer at Heirs and Spares.
No. He's the #1 mouse killer, I can assure you.
Oh, was it a
but
mouse?
I think I better go now because he can't get out of my office here, so he's going to be hacked off. So I better go.
We'll let you guys go. That's it for us. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.